Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH3022, Social Media Practice. And this is just the overview summary video of the topics we'll be covering in the 18th lecture, which is about report writing. I said that we brought this forward from after Easter, and this should be useful for your final year project reports. So we're going to kind of go through this in the limited time that we've got. There's a lot to get through, but we'll go through this and hopefully it'll be useful for helping you in addition to the conversation and discussion that we had last week about critical thinking and what that means for the academic process. So what we'll cover is kind of issues about, we'll review the kind of, what does it mean to be critical? I think, again, kind of remind ourselves of what that kind of disposition is of open-mindedness, fairness, kind of how you account for change and how you experience change, but what that means, if you like, in an academic context in terms of being rigorous about the kind of format of thinking. And we'll look at some of the types of reasoning, the types of thinking that are appropriate and what differences they might make in terms of how we structure our report. And kind of what, the thing is with the report, it's different from an essay. So the format and the approach that you take is going to inform your reader in a very different way than maybe making an argument would be structured in a dissertation or an extended essay or dissertation. So this is really more about providing something which is practical, which is useful, which allows you to develop your thinking, but offers you also, if you like, at the end, practical things to take away to apply in other forms and in other places. So it might be that what you've demonstrated in your academic report is something which can be applied in other contexts and other circumstances. So the kind of factors that we're looking for is in terms of, how well informed are you? How fair-minded are you? What do you do with your own biases? Do you have a preference to expressing your own biases and opinions, or are you able to put them in a context which explains these biases? We all have personal biases, but explains them in a more kind of objective kind of approach. And we'll look at some of the kind of, the traps and how do we overcome them. We have these biases, so what kind of processes that can we employ that help us to kind of, at least acknowledge that we have these biases and maybe move on from them. So this is the reflexive process. It's a questioning process. It's a kind of self-examination process. Is this what we really want to say, and is this really what we want to communicate in a formal sense? So we'll look at this also in terms of, how do we get to the point where we've got a clear question is always a good, and it's often the last thing that you write. So when you read the report, it looks like you knew what the question was all along, but it's something that maybe emerges in the process of investigation and writing itself. So, it's an academic trick, but it's a fairly standard form of academic activity. And it's things like, kind of what I'm sure you'd be very interested in understanding and getting a sense of what we think of as, the kind of criteria for different types of papers. So what makes a good paper, what makes a mediocre paper, what makes a poor paper, what makes an excellent paper, those kind of questions, and what the differences are, so the kind of terminology that's wrapped up in this, which is often unquestioned and we make assumptions about, but we have an opportunity to talk about this and consider this in more detail. So it's things like, kind of, how precise are you with the information that you use? I think a good starting point is to ask what the function of a report is, which is different from an essay. And what it is, who's going to be reading it is a good question. And what do they want to get out of it? And what is it that you use this information for? Because it's, crucial to the ongoing use of your knowledge, which is then a contributor to the broader discussions that take place about the topic and the subject area that you're working in. So it's kind of, we want to think through, what people are going to gain from reading and using your report. Then what we'll do is we'll look at some key issues to do with how you structure the report, how it's laid out, style guidelines, those kind of things, and some of the inbuilt technical capabilities of things like Microsoft Word, which would be able to help you, and reference management, those kind of things. After Easter, we've got the 3 workshop sessions set aside because your project will be finished, your coursework project will be finished, and we can use the 3 weeks after Easter you can spend your time working on the reports in those sessions, and we can ask questions and discuss it and look at the kind of evidence base that you've chosen to use within that, and how you back it up with evidence and citations. And the following week, either the following week or in a few weeks, we're going to look at academic evidence and look at that in some more detail, and what that means for a well-presented academic paper and essay or report. So this is available on the DMU Commons Wiki. Just go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk and you can download a copy there from the TECH3022 section. If you want to carry on the conversation and you've got anything to share and sources that you think might be useful, go over to DMU Talk. That's at talk.our.dmu.ac.uk. So I'll see you at the lecture.